My name is Sarah Olney. I'm the Member of Parliament for Richmond Park. Like most people, I was watching the television news and seeing all of the pictures from Ukraine, seeing the mums and their children fleeing Ukraine, seeing the situation as it was unfolding, and it was completely horrifying to me. Obviously, the wider, if you like, significance of the invasion and what that meant for Ukraine, what it meant for all of us as Europeans, and what it told us about Putin's aggression, but then seeing those individuals and their families and the impact it was having on them, I've just felt really, really strongly that I wanted to do what I could to help. And obviously, once the government introduced their Homes for Ukraine scheme, that obviously gave me an opportunity. That was probably the more difficult part of it, actually, because at the time there was no sort of formal government-led matching process, so it was really informal. And I did hear some slightly concerning stories about people almost sort of advertising themselves on Facebook, and some real fears certainly expressed amongst parliamentarians about perhaps some of the safeguarding issues that might present. But a friend of my husband's is married to a Lithuanian woman, and they were taking in a refugee as well, and she had found a really good matching site, something that seemed a bit more respectable, and so we put out we just posted on there. And actually what we did was we thought really, really carefully about who we could accommodate, what sort of offer we might be able to make. Initially, I was really keen to offer a home to a family because I've got young children myself, and I really, really empathised with some of those mothers, and I really wanted to be able to help a family. But realistically, we've got a small spare bedroom, so we thought long and hard about it, and we were like, we've got space for a single female, a single adult female, and after a few days, we got matched. She's been very independent, actually. She arrived in May, and she's got a few people that she already knew in London, some people who were living here already, other people that had also left Ukraine at the same time, or roughly the same time. So she's already got a little bit of a social network. I think the biggest barrier has been she wasn't able to speak much English, but we were able to get her English lessons, and that's really improved over time. We can have some really good conversations now. She's worked ever since she arrived. She, had the option to sign on for universal credit, but didn't take it because she wanted to be working. So she's been out working. She's been out with friends that she's known. But apart from that, I guess when she's at home, she pretty much keeps herself to herself. She's obviously online a lot, talking to people back home in Ukraine. But it's like having a lodger or a flatmate who's busy all the time, and it's not been intrusive to our family life in any way at all. The challenges have been very few, actually. I think just the initial settling in period, getting her sort of set up and showing her where to go and how things worked, and helping her with finding employment. But nothing more than you would have expected of anything in that situation. I think the rewarding thing is when we are watching the ongoing situation in Ukraine on the television, and I obviously hear a lot about it, directly as a member of Parliament in the House of Commons. Just knowing that it's only a small thing, but we are doing our bit, and we are part of that, pushing back against Putin. And I know that sounds like a little bit grandiose, but if everybody does a little bit, then that really, does become that huge pushing back. So just in our own way and in our own home, we're taking that stand. But it's somebody who now has a safe and secure home for as long as she needs it, while this awful thing is unfolding in her homeland. And obviously we very, very much hope, and we look forward to the day when she's able to return, and Kyiv is a safe and free city again that she can return to. But until that happens, she's got a shelter with us, and she's safe here for as long as she needs to be. I think I remember anticipating her arrival, and thinking about what it would be like to have a stranger in my house, and feeling a bit nervous about that and anxious and thinking it would be really intrusive, and thinking that, I wasn't sure how the children would be, how we as a family would react, and, whether it would. And I think what I've learned is that actually it's been a lot easier than I even anticipated it would be, in a way. And actually being able to open your home to somebody in need is not nearly as taxing of me or of the family as I thought it would be. And then actually sometimes it's fear that stops you doing things, or kind of sort of a negative anticipation. But just getting on and doing the thing. If your heart is telling you it's the right thing to do, just move on through what you think might be the barriers, and you might find it's actually a lot more straightforward than you think. I mean, I do think we've been lucky in a way. Our guest has fitted in really well. She's she's a nice person to have around. She hasn't caused us any difficulties, and I'm sure other people will have had different experiences. But for us, it's she's just another member of the household, and she's fitted in so nicely, so well, and all the things I was worried about have not come to pass. So sometimes I think if you feel strongly that you ought to do something, you just need to push on and do it, and not get distracted by what you think might be the barriers or the obstacles or the difficulties. I think for us, it was not having too many expectations. It was, I think the key to being a good host is just to, make sure that all the basics are in place, that they've got, a space for themselves. You've given them plenty, as much space as you can, but not just the sort of physical space. They don't necessarily want you to be there every moment of every day managing for them. They need a bit of space to kind of figure out where they are, what they need, and as I say, my guest had got a little network of friends already in London, and actually was much more likely to reach out to them for sort of support than she was to us, certainly in the first place. But just to keep speaking to them, is this okay? Is that okay? We're going to be doing this next weekend. Will you be all right with that? Just to keep making sure that you're having sort of supportive and constructive conversations as much as you're able. I found Google Translate very useful in the first few days, typing out in English and then getting it to translate to Ukrainian. But whatever means necessary, but just to keep, and then sort of almost step back and let them find their own feet. And don't be afraid to say, it's better if you don't do that, or can you not do this, because that doesn't work for us, or whatever. But as long as it's friendly and supportive, I think most. But yeah, it's as I say, not have too many expectations about what they're going to need or how they're going to respond, because they are individuals, in a very, very difficult situation. I think for me, it's been a lot easier. I think, than I thought it would be, and I'm really, really glad we did it. We've got an extra person in our household who is just incredibly welcome. For me, it's really important to feel that I'm making this kind of contribution, if you like, to a larger, national effort to kind of support Ukraine. It feels to me like almost the defining conflict of my lifetime. So to know that that's something that we are playing our part in is really important to me. But also, just to open your home to somebody in need is something that it does give you a huge sense of personal satisfaction, but also it's a real gift to that individual, and something that's really important. So if becoming a Homes for Ukraine host is something that Richmond residents are interested in, please visit the Richmond Council website and sign up.